With the scene shifting to Tri-Cities, Washington, the long-awaited debut of Pay'n Pak finally materialized. Rookie pilot John Walters of Pay'n Pak put the new Lycoming turbine entry through its preparatory paces, but how it might have fared will never be known because the craft flipped an incredible 2.5 revolutions during a race day morning test run. Even veteran observers were stunned by the violence of the crash, as the Pak seemed to want to climb into an outer space orbit. Walters sustained nothing worse than a slight hip fracture. The boat, however, was badly damaged and through for the year.
Been a lot of 12-hour days, 7-day weeks since then, but Jim Lucero and his crew have got the Pak back together.
We basically took the boat right back down to its frames after the flip to make sure there wasn't any real structural damage inside, and we were very pleasantly surprised that the thing was in excellent shape.
The Pak now looks like it's traveling 180 miles an hour just sitting on the blocks. It's even brought praise from Bill Munsey, whose Atlas van lines the Pak will challenge. Incidentally, they have solved the problem of the flip.
The wing obviously failed. If you watch the pictures while the boat was going over, the wing had a definite problem. So we've made some changes back there. We've lowered the exhaust pipe, and we've built a special blanket to cover the wing, and also cover the wing with a special insulating paint so that we won't have a failure there.
They plan to have the Pak in the water for testing later this month. They will approach everything more cautiously this time around. And they are fully behind turbine power as the only way to go.
We are lighter and the boat is more efficient. We should be able to see a little more speed.
And then will you have to shut down as much in the corners as the other boats do?
Well, one of my basic principles in doing boats is that lighter boats corner faster. So if we can get a little more weight out of this boat than we did out of the Atlas van lines, we should be able to go through the turns faster.
You confident you have a winner here?
Well, that's why we go race.
And it should be exciting when they do.
You're looking inside the new Turbine Pay'n Pak. It's the only boat of its type in this race. Listen to that power. Today will be the Pak's first competitive test after driver John Walters flipped the boat in a pre-race run down at Tri-Cities, Washington last year, sustaining injuries that knocked him and his turbine out for the rest of the season and picked up plenty of work for crew chief Jim Lucero. Sam, earlier today, you had a chance to chat with John Walters prior to the race.
I had the opportunity of spending some time with John and talk to him about this revolutionary new craft. And you know, I asked him where he thought that turbine power was going to be in the future.
Well, I think that that the future of boat racing is going to be in turbine power plants. As everybody, I'm sure, is well aware of, we've had a lot of problems with the salt water. But you know, this is really only the second time that a turbine-powered boat has ever run on salt water, and this is the first time that we've ever ran on salt water. So we're going through a big learning curve right now, and I think once we get everything dialed in, get a little handle on what we need to do under these type of conditions and that, and I think we'll be able to get the bugs worked out, and I think that the power plant will be very competitive.
Straight away, and here comes the winner of Heat 1B, our rookie, John Walters. In his very first heat of competition, takes the checker flag for first place. Second place goes to Michael Spot of Seattle, driven by another rookie, Scott Pierce. Here comes Dean Shettle. The checker flag is waved as he rounds the final turn. He's on his way to the bank. He's going to be the victor in this, the Champion Spark Plug Regatta. For $60,000 in prize money, he's the winner.
And it's the second straight Champion Spark Plug victory for the Budweiser team as Dean Chenoweth begins his quest for a second consecutive national crown. Second place goes to John Walters in the Pay'n Pak out of Seattle, Washington. Our third place boat, Miss Madison from Madison, Indiana. Fourth place, Michael's Pride out of Seattle. And the fifth place boat, Atlas Van Line.
Here comes the start. Chip Hanover with an excellent start. Go, Chip. Oh, look at the pack. There goes the Pay'n Pak with Johnny Walters. On the inside is the Budweiser. On the lead from this position looks like the Pay'n Pak. And on the outside, going into the south third now to try to set it up for you. Chip Hanover with a great start. Also Johnny Walters in the Pay'n Pak.
Yeah, but watch his pack. If he can lay that corner beautifully, you watch him accelerate. He'll move right with the Budweiser.
Let's look at him now as they come out of the south, or the south turn, going into the straightaway. Right now, second place is Pay'n Pak right now with Johnny Walters.
And
the Bud poured it on.
On the Pay'n Pak, he's keeping the pressure on the balance of the field.
The battle for second and third right now is a vicious one. Chip Hanover, the Squire Shop, in third place. The Budweiser in first. There's the difference. The Bud coming around, heading for the entrance buoy.
Well, the Squire's taking a real focused shot.
Oh, what a rocket he is taking. Squire Shop going wide. Good driving by Walters that time, forcing him outside a little bit. There's the second place boat, the Pay'n Pak. Average speed for the Budweiser, 126.592. He has a 3-second lead right now over the second place Pay'n Pak and Johnny Walters. Former crew member for the man right next to me, Bill Munson. Into the south third. There he is.
He's a brand new chauffeur, and he's just super, and he's up for Rookie of the Year this year, and he's in good shape to win it along with Scott Pierce, who's doing beautifully.
Average speed for the Budweiser on the second lap was 123 miles per hour, down 3 from the first lap. Pay'n Pak hanging in there. Walters going after it. As you can see now, they've got it trimmed to try to keep that boat down. It's been light. It's one of the lightest boats, only 5,100 pounds out there with a lot of horsepower, that being the Pay'n Pak. And there's the leader, the Budweiser. Back to a 7-second lead over the Pay'n Pak.
At this point, it would appear that he's on his way to the bank again. And you can't deny the fact that he's got that sled glued together. The Budweiser team is a beautifully prepared team, historically very successful.
Coming up,
ready for the Gold Cup this year, it would seem.
Coming up on the final lap, the checker flag for Dean Chenoweth and the Budweiser, the Gold Cup winner in 1981.
And it looks as though the Atlas Van Lines is going to want lane 1. If that's a surprise, it looks Chenoweth and the Budweiser takes lane 2. Lane 3 is the Pay'n Pak with John Walters. And on the outside, it's going to be the Squire Shop with Tommy DeHeath, and back of the pack, Tom Sheehy in the Rich Plan Food Service. As they come down to start the race, they dive for corner number 1.
What an exciting start. Walters, Chenoweth, Hanauer, and Deeth all hit the line on the money.
Starting down the back chute, it is the Pay'n Pak Turbine with John Walters. And then the inside, lane 1, Chenoweth in the Budweiser starts to give chase. Little out of attitude was the Pay'n Pak, and here comes Chenoweth on the inside. He may take over the lead before this half a lap is over, and he does. Chenoweth, Milner, looks like he's bourboning. Looks like there's a little smoke coming out of that left bank.
Jim, there's a lot of smoke coming out of the left side of the engine. Looks like he might have lost 1 or 2 cylinders there.
If that's the case, look out, because the Pay'n Pak with John Walters on his hip, and then you can't see him because he's in the rooster tail. There he comes. He's coming off of corner number 4. They come down to complete lap number 1, and Chenoweth does have a problem. Look at the puff of smoke coming off that engine.
Chenoweth may be limping, but the Miss Budweiser still led the first lap. John Walters was a close second, and Tom Deeth has the Squire Shop in the thick of it. The Atlas Van Lines has lost power, Jim. Chip Hanauer may have gotten wet in that first turn. John Walters probably saw the smoke from the Bud. He's turned up the wick.
As they come now halfway down the back chute in lap number 2 with about a 6-boat length lead, it's the Pay'n Pak with John Walters, the Turbine, out of Seattle, Washington, owned by Dave Herrensberger. And he's riding pretty good there, Milner. Whoop, I spoke too soon.
He's getting a little bit light, Jim. I'd sure like to see the boat settle down a little more than that.
And right now, even though Dean Chenoweth is having a little trouble with the Miss Budweiser, Jim, he just won't get off the throttle.
No, it's a go or blow situation. This is for all the marbles. The checker flag is waiting, and they've got about 3 more laps to go, and this race will be history. As we've completed lap number 2 now, they're running over 120 mile an hour. This turbine engine, Milner, is out of a helicopter.
That's right, Jim. That's a Chinook helicopter engine, and it is really turning on right now. Look at him go down the back straightaway.
He looks like he's got good chute speed, but right now, every once in a while, you'll see his front end get a little cutty, a little light. Of course, that is a light boat to begin with.
Well, he's beginning to run into some of the chop from the boats that he's catching up to, and it's getting a little light down the straightaway.
We asked young John Walters what he'd do if he was leading with a couple of laps to go.
Well, if I'm leading the race with just 2 laps left to go, I'm going to continue to do the same things I did in the first 3, because obviously they were the right things to do. So hopefully, if everything goes well, we should be leading with 2 laps to go.
He's last year's co-rookie of the year, and he builds boats and had a big hand in building the pack with Jim Lucero. Milner, he's a confident young man, but with everything going his way for that first win, do you think maybe he's getting a little anxious?
Well, I think so, Ed. He always waiting for something to happen, and when you get closer to the end of the race, you begin to wonder if you're going to make it.
Right now, gentlemen, the Pay'n Pak is leading with the Atlas Van Lines returning to the pits. It'll be the Budweiser and then the Squire. Miss Rock did not start. She went dead just before the start of the engine, so we're down to 5 boats, now down to 4 boats as the Atlas Van Lines has returned to the pits as reported. As he comes down the back chute now, he'll take the green flag showing 1 more lap to go, and on lap number 3, he had the fastest competition lap of the day. He's clocked in at 1:24.7.
That's moving pretty good on rough water, isn't it, Milner?
It sure is, Ed. He has really got it strung out, and I think the boat is perhaps running better than it's ever run before.
Jim Lucero is probably smiling in the pits.
Well, right now, I think Milner will agree. Being a driver of Second Point National High Points last year, he knows now as the green flag is taken with 1 more lap to go, less than 2 miles, that the driver and the crew chief start hearing little gremlins. Is the engine running quite right? Right or wrong, Milner?
That's right, Jim. You're always wondering and waiting for that clink that means that you're not going to finish the race.
Looks strong down the back chute. I don't see anything wrong with what he's kicking up right now. What about it, Jim?
Nope, he's all right. He just gets out of attitude a little bit. They've been working on the hull. It is a new boat. It's a new innovation that Dave Herrensberger has come up with Jim Lucero, the crew chief and boat builder. Half a lap to go in this race's history. Thunder in the Park here at Seneca Falls, New York on Seneca Lake as he comes down to corner number 3. Second place right now is the Squire Shop has had a problem. The Squire Shop has had a problem. It's down in the water. The Squire shop has cooked an engine. He's out of the race. That's going to put the Rich Plan Miss Madison in second place if he can hang on.
Gentlemen, we're seeing history made. John Walters has driven the Pay'n Pak to his first victory and the first time a turbine-powered boat has won an unlimited race. Congratulations to owner Dave Herensberger. This will be his first win in 7 years. And here comes Tom Sheehy in the Miss Madison. He'll take second place. Tom has had a big day too. And John Walters is so happy he can hardly sit still in his boat. I'll be back to talk with him as Thunder in the Park continues. Well, here's the winner, John Walters. And John, the race had to go the way you planned.
Yeah, we rolled in here last Thursday night, I guess it was, hoping to win the race. We ran extremely well right off the trailer. We managed to run pretty well this morning in our last-minute testing and qualifying, and the boat just ran strong all day long. And all that credit goes to all the people at Pay'n Pak that are behind us and work on the boat and make it go out and run strong for me.
John Walters, you should consider this a very big win.
I do, not only for myself, but for all of the fans all over the country that have backed Pay'n Pak teams for so long, and especially in front of such an enthusiastic crowd here in New York. This also marks the very first time in APBA history that any event has ever been won by a turbine-powered raceboat.
We'd like you to take a look at the replay of the race and give us your thoughts. Where did you feel the most competition would come from?
Well, I knew that the Budweiser was going to run real strong, and I wanted to keep a good close eye on him all the time. And going down the back straightaway there, the boat got a little bit light a couple of times, and Dean, I had ended up coming off the power, and when I did, I ended up coming off a lot more than I really wanted to, and Dean managed to squeeze by me there. But we picked up a lot of time here in this upper turn and was able to out-accelerate him coming off the pin.
As you came around the lap one, it seemed like you would go wide and maybe lose a little control.
Well, actually what I wanted to do was keep the boat out in good, clean water, keep the boat speed up, and be able to come off the pin real well. And as you can see here, we were able to out-accelerate the Budweiser going down this front straightaway, and that's really where I started to build some confidence that we could actually run by these guys if we needed to do that.
Jim Lucero, who designed the only turbine-powered boat on the tour, is with us too. And Jim, I have to wonder if you're a little proud when you watch that acceleration.
Oh, absolutely. We've had a lot of problems with the boat over the past 2 years, and we've been pointing to get the thing to handle good in competition water, and we finally gotten the thing to where we can actually use some of the power that the engine will develop, and John just did an excellent job of utilizing that.
I think that has to be the key, is the type race that John drove. As we get ready into the second lap, were you thinking ahead?
Yeah, for sure. I knew I wanted to keep the Budweiser behind me, keep a good close eye on him, and it was plenty rough out there. The boat was banging me around pretty good, and I just wanted to keep it out in good, clean water, not get in any trouble. And I figured later on towards the end of the race that we were going to start coming up on some boats pretty fast, and I didn't want to get caught in any traffic and give those guys the advantage.
John, when you're out there driving, how far ahead can you actually think when you're going 170 miles an hour?
Well, I guess the faster you go, the faster you have to be able to do that. And I'm kind of planning my strategy, especially in the turns and that, a long ways before I get there. And even before that, I pretty well made up my mind when I got in the boat what we were going to do at the starting line. And if that didn't work, I had a second plan of attack all lined out. So we were pretty well prepared going into the race.
Could you feel that the boat was running that strong?
Yeah, I could tell, that we were making good power, and the boat was handling fairly well. The only thing that I had any concern about at all was going down the back straightaway. There's a lot of rollers out there, and the boat tends to get set off a little bit. But everything just worked real well for us, and we managed to hang in there and win the boat race. Well, I knew that each lap the water got progressively rougher and rougher, and I was trying to run a lane that would enable me to keep all the guys behind me in the rougher water than I had to run in. And so I just kept changing lanes and tightening up the radius through the turn so that nobody could sneak inside me. And just at this point, I was just kind of hoping that everything would stay together and we didn't break anything and were able to go out and finish.
Well, I'd have to say I'm with two very proud people. The first win for the turbine-powered Pay'n Pak. John Walters, Jim Lucero, congratulations, and I hope this is just the start of many, many more.
Thank you. I hope so, too.
Thank you.
Straight out there by itself.
were basically trying to make sure we could get the boat up on a plane. And I talked to Jim before we went out, and he said, if everything goes well and you're able to get it up on a plane, run just a couple of laps. This is a brand new motor that we've never run in the boat before, and kind of get some instrument readings. And if you feel comfortable, go a little bit hard. But we really didn't. In all honesty, I know people, when you say, well, we didn't really mean to go fast.
Approximately 30 seconds after the start of Heat 1B as the fleet screamed down the straightaway towards the south turn. The Executone, piloted by rookie driver George Johnson, was in the outside lane. Following the sudden veer to the left, the Executone struck the Squire shop and then was struck by the oncoming Pay'n Pak. Neither Johnson or Squire driver Tom DeHeath were injured, but the Pak's John Walters suffered numerous serious injuries and was rushed by helicopter to Harborview Hospital. The Executone sank immediately, and the other two boats were severely damaged. Race officials are still trying to determine the cause of the accident. Johnson says the Executone seemed to be running fine prior to the collision and can't explain what happened. However, other drivers question that, pointing to the way the boat was porpoising or bouncing prior to the start of the heat. And when viewed in slow motion, the Executone appears to dive into the water as a result of a previous bounce.